Peace and blessings. I'm Dr. Bobby Price, and today I'm going to give you 5 steps to eliminating cellulite. Now, this is something just not just for women. This is something also for men out there as well, too. And this isn't just for people who are overweight. I see people who are also petite with cellulite as well, too. Now, there's all kind of things out there on the market that people are using to get rid of cellulite. And when you look at what's out there on the market, everything from supplements to treatments, et cetera, when you look at what's out there on the market, you can see clearly that, in my opinion, they don't understand what actually causes cellulite. So today, what I'm going to do in this video is break down to you what is cellulite and what's causing it. All right, so we're going to start there first, and then I'm going to give you the 5 solutions. All right, 5 solutions to essentially eliminating cellulite. All right, and they're very simple and low costing as well too. All right, so let's get right into it. Let's first start with what is cellulite. Cellulite are fat deposits that get pushed up against connective tissue. All right, now everybody probably had already associated cellulite with fat, but the portion about being pushed up against connective tissue, that's the part that needs to be focused on. All right, because we have people who are overweight and have a lot of excess body fat on their body, but they don't have cellulite. All right, we got people who are actually not overweight, but they got cellulite. So this is why it's so important to kind of really understand what is it and how to understand not just getting rid of fat, but how to get rid of the actual issue that created the cellulite in the first place. Okay, so just to repeat, fat deposits that get pushed up against connective tissue. All right, what connective tissue are they talking about? All right, I'm teaching you how to think about this. What connective tissue are they're talking about? All right, in this case, from everything that I researched, the connective tissue that they're talking about is fascia, which is a type of connective tissue, all right? And the disruption in that fascia connective tissue is what causes these breaks in the skin that look like the cellulite, all right? Again, fat deposits being pushed up against connective tissue, in this case being fascia, all right? Now, let me explain what fascia is, okay? So then once you start to, this starts to unravel, you'll kind of see all of the connected dots. All right. Fascia is essentially like saran wrap that goes around muscles and tissues in the body. All right. We'll get a little bit deeper into that in just a second. All right. So when a muscle contracts, all right, you see the muscle and you see bicep. Okay. But that muscle does not move without fascia that's wrapped around it, almost like saran wrap. Right? You probably have seen it for those who eat meat out there or who ate meat in the past, who ate like a piece of steak and you would see that white tissue around the muscle, okay? All right, in many cases, that is the fascia, all right? We have about 40 to 51 pounds of fascia in our bodies, okay? 40 to 51 pounds. So this is very significant. You don't get muscle movement without fascia. You don't have structure in the body without fascia. Very, very important. All right, so you have different types of fascia. You have fascia that is superficial. That type of fascia is the fascia that is right below the skin. All right, then you have deep fascia. That type of fascia is going to be the type of fascia that surrounds muscles and other structures. All right, and then you have visceral fascia. This is the type of fascia that encases organs, okay? Let me give you a few examples of fascia that you may be familiar with, all right? You probably have heard of plantar fasciitis, all right? All right, your plantar fascia is on your foot bottom, all right? All right, so it's at the bottom of your foot, all right? And what happens is when it becomes inflamed, plantar fasciitis, itis is the inflammation, that's when you have a real issue and it's very painful. All right. So plantar fasciitis or plantar fascia is a type of fascia. All right. You also have what's called fascia lata. Okay. That's the fascia that surrounds your thigh muscle. All right. and you'll probably notice that you tend to have or see cellulite in the thigh region. Okay, so that's another type of fascia. You also have what's called the rectus sheath. All right, this is the fascia that surrounds the rectus abdominis. All right, the rectus abdominis is basically your lower abs. Okay, it basically starts from the bottom and comes up, and there's a fascia that surrounds that muscle that allows you to sit up straight, that allows you to walk, that allows you to have flexion in your torso, to be able to bend over. So there's a very important piece of fascia, right? And this fascia gets disrupted most often when women have a C-section, okay? And they have to literally cut through the fascia to have the delivery of the baby, all right? This is also why when women have a C-section, this is why the fat that is basically below that cut, that's why the fat below that C-section cut is the most difficult fat to get rid of. It's because once you have essentially cut that fascia, quite often what happens is scar tissue forms in that area. And the connection between the fascia below and the connection between the fascia above gets disrupted. So now it's very difficult to actually engage those muscles. All right. Now, the reason why I went there is because remember what cellulite is. Cellulite is fat deposits that get pushed up against connective tissue, i.e., fascia. All right. And so what I'm demonstrating is a very common way that this happens, a C-section for a woman who's having a birth. All right. And how that happens is a scar tissue that happens when you have that incision. And when it doesn't reconnect, then that's why you can see someone get very, very fit after pregnancy, but it just be very difficult to lose that fupa. All right. So really, really important in understanding that concept first. Now that fascia, now we have to think about other ways that it gets disrupted. And to think about that, we have to understand the function of the fascia or how that fascia gets regulated. It's regulated by the nervous system. Okay, the nervous system is constantly giving feedback to the fascia all over your body, the whole 40 to 51 pounds of fascia. And the nervous system has to communicate constantly with it because every time I want to move, I have to send a signal from my brain to my spinal cord to the nerves to the fascia to then say contract, and then the muscle does that. All right. So the nervous system regulates the fascia. The vagus nerve, which is a nerve that is connected to our autonomic nervous system. All right. That's also connected to the fascia as well, too. And when we get stressed, this can affect your vagus nerve. Okay. Hormones and neurotransmitters regulate your fascia as well, too. So when your hormones are imbalanced or you have neurotransmitter imbalances, okay, like serotonin, which is the happy molecule. When you have imbalances in these neurotransmitters and hormones, they can affect your fascia as well too. Movement or lack thereof. A lot of people aren't moving the way we used to. We used to have more manual labor jobs. We didn't sit as much. And as a result of the end, big thing is growing up, think about this for a second. Growing up, most of us as children, when we were outside, we would like to be outside with no shoes on. All right. Now I'm dating myself going back to the 90s and, late 80s. But it's important to know that moving and playing and running without shoes is how we developed as human beings. And the first part of your body that initiates a response to the 40 to 50 pounds of fascia in the body is your feet. As soon as you get out of the bed and your feet hit the ground, your feet are literally getting these proprioceptors in your feet, and your fascia are communicating with the rest of your body. And it's like a chain from the bottom of your feet, that plantar fascia, up through your calf muscles to your hamstrings, up to the rest of the body is communicating. And when that chain gets broken, okay, because you are wearing shoes that are making your feet do this instead of being its natural position, you're not getting that feedback from the nervous system, okay? Because it's not hitting those proprioceptors. All right, so really, really important. And we'll talk about that as part of the solution, but movement is very important, especially movement, unrestricted movement, especially in the feet. Hydration is very important for regulation of the fascia. Stress will tighten up the fascia, and also understanding what the building blocks of fascia is. To build the fascia, you got to have vitamin C, you got to have zinc, you got to have copper, and you got to have other things, okay? Amino acids, all right? So when you're deficient in those things, your fascia will be deficient as well too, all right? But whenever any of these things happen that cause dysregulation in the fascia, cause the fascia to tighten up, or you get injured, okay? Maybe it was a previous injury that caused the fascia to be injured or damaged, and then that fascia started to create adhesions or scars or scar tissue. Then until you break up those adhesions, then you're probably going to have an issue in the fascia, and this could lead to those fat deposits getting pushed up against some of those connective tissue, i.e. fascia. All right, so fascia is a really big part of it, in my belief. But another big part of it is the lymphatic system. All right, your lymphatic system is the waste removal system in your body. All right, and guess what? Excess fat is waste, okay, on the body. All right, that's a really important concept that nobody really thinks about. Excess fat is waste in the body. It's the body holding on to waste, okay? And the reason why I say that is because also, whenever you are introduced toxins to the body, no matter how you're doing that, with whatever you're putting on your skin to moisturize, or putting in your hair, or brushing whatever you put on your skin goes in. Whatever you put in your digestive system goes in. And all of that toxicity, you know where it hides out? In the fat, okay? All of the toxic foods you eat, all of the things that you're exposed to in the environment, all of the toxic things you put on your skin, they end up in your fat. And it becomes very difficult to get rid of those toxins because they're stored in the fat, okay? And so you start to accumulate more and more fat because you're putting more and more toxicity in the body. All right. So the lymphatic system is the waste removal system in the body. And again, its whole job is to remove waste, toxins, excess fluid, and even fat. Okay. And the lymphatic system sits right below the skin. Now, here's why that's important. These two that I've talked about, the fascia and the lymphatic system. All right. When you think about how the skin is made up, there's an epidermis layer, which is what you see here. This is the epidermis layer that you can see. Below that epidermis is the dermal layer, or the dermis. Okay. And then below that, you have the subcutaneous tissue, which is where fat is stored in that area. All right. So that's why they call it subcutaneous fat. And then below that, you have the muscle, which is saran wrap with the fascia. All right. When you think about where your lymphatic system is located, the lymphatic vessels that remove the waste, remove the fat, the toxins, etc., it is literally right below the skin. All right. So that's why if you go to get a massage and you say, I want a lymphatic massage, which I made the mistake, air quotes, of doing one time and didn't know what it was, like years ago. First time getting a massage, I was like, lymphatic, that sounds good. I like the idea of moving my lymphatic system. And then when you get the massage therapist is literally barely touching you. That's because the lymphatic system is literally right under this epidermis layer, okay? Now, that's important because, again, most people have a stagnant lymphatic system, okay? Really, really important, all right? So with that being said, you got fascia issues or fascia dysfunction that is leading to cellulite. You have lymphatic stagnation, which is causing the accumulation of not only waste, but also fat as well too. So that could lead to cellulite as well too. You have a horrible diet, okay, which is probably foundational to many of these things, because the horrible diet is what's putting all the waste and the toxins and causing the accumulation of excess fat. All right, so that's an issue. And then you got a lack of movement. All right, so let's reverse engineer that. And now I can give you the 5 steps to eliminating cellulite. All right, so step number 1, you got to change how you eat. All right, there is no remedy that I can ever give you that can compensate for a poor diet. All right, you have to remove the toxic sad foods, sad being standard American diet. All right, you have to remove those foods that are in box, bag, cans, and jars. You got to eat natural whole foods. All right, so you got to get rid of that. You got to get rid of the unhealthy carbs. All right, the unhealthy carbs turn into sugar. Excess sugars in the body will turn into fat. All right, so you got to get rid of those. So what are you eating? You're eating a high plant-based diet, a diet high in plants. Okay, that's a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. A diet that is anti-inflammatory, that is going to reduce those adhesions and tightness in your fascia, okay, because it's anti-inflammatory, and a diet that is building, that's going to build up strong fascia as well too. All right, so that's the first thing you have to do. Number 2, okay, number 2, you got to get consistent movement in. Okay, we live in a society where most people are at a desk or sitting down for work throughout the day, and then they come home and do the same thing, and then they get into bed. So most people, I mean, if you count sitting as being horizontal, most people are spending probably 20 hours a day horizontal. Okay, all right, so no movement, whereas our ancestors probably spent 16 hours a day on their feet. Okay, vertical. All right, so we have just changed everything as a result of that. All right, so we got to change our movement. And what that looks like is at the gym or doing a workout at home, that looks like a combination of cardio, strength training, and body weight exercises. Body weight exercises can be jumping jacks, it could be push-ups, it could be pull-ups, it could be air squats, it could be a number of things. Okay, but strength training is using weights. Okay, and then the cardio. That cardio could be biking, it could be swimming, it could be walking throughout the neighborhood. All right, so you need that. And then a big emphasis on incorporating barefoot exercises. Okay, you don't have to be completely barefoot. You could actually put on some socks and work out at home. Even when I'm doing squats at the gym, whether they're air squats or I'm doing it with weight, I do those in my socks. Okay, so that's a big thing that's going to help you, because again, your toes are going to be able to move, especially your great toe. All right, your feet are going to be in direct contact with the floor and not with a rubber heel. Okay, means that you're going to get that direct connection to where your fascia gets the initial impact from movement. All right, which is going to send signals up through the rest of your fascia from the bottom of your feet to the top of your brain. All right, so that's really important. Number three is something called fascia blasting. Okay, fascia blasting. Fascia blasting is when you use a tool to either massage or break up adhesions in your fascia. All right, so let me give you a few examples. All right, we have something that looks like this. All right, so you take this on the problematic area, wherever you have cellulite in this case, and you just roll. Okay, so you just roll. You roll that area. So essentially what you're doing is you're massaging the area where the cellulite is, but you're stimulating your fascia, all right, to untighten and also to break up adhesions. But you're also stimulating your lymphatic system if you do it gently. So you could do it with medium sort of pressure, and then you could do it very gently in the area. Okay, no matter where it is, whether it's on your torso, on your arm, on your legs, your thighs, wherever you have the affected area. Okay, that is what's called fascia blasting. It improves blood flow, It improves mobility, flexibility, and it also decreases cellulite. Okay, so using something like this, but you also can use something like this. Okay, all right, red or blue, your choice. All right, so you can use this on the area, no matter where it is, wherever you have cellulite or a problematic area, you use this on that area and you just roll it out. Now, if you want to increase the pressure, of course, you can lay down and do this, but wherever you have this, red or blue, you choose. All right, so, and that will help as well too, because what you see on here, these little sort of spikes represent areas where they can basically have touch pressure points, okay? Potential proprioceptors that are on the skin. All right, so that's how it helps to activate the fascia and also sort of loosen it up and also break up adhesions. All right, so this is really good. I use this at the gym all the time. All right, so that's really good. The other thing you could do is lymphatic drainage. You got to stimulate your lymphatic system. Okay, there's a lot of ways that you could do that. You could do that through movement. So different types of movement can stimulate your lymphatic system to start to move those lymphatic fluids, which is waste, which is toxins, which is excess fluid, which is also fat. All right, so it could do it by certain movements, but also detoxification is very important too. A lot of you out there have done my detox. You probably noticed after doing the detox, your cellulite sort of decreased heavily during the detox. It's because of the waste removal. Okay, you get rid of the waste. All right, you're going to get rid of the acidity in the body. The acidity is what causes the inflammation. It inflames the fascia. All right, because that waste is going to go out of the body through the lymphatic vessels. Okay, that end up, dropping off that waste to lymph nodes. Okay, which are in the folds of our body. Okay, all right. So it's just really important to understand detoxification is a major way that you can get the lymphatic fluid or lymphatic drainage moving, because it's opening up the elimination channels and it's also stimulating the detoxification organs as well too. So that's a game changer. So if you tried my detox and noticed that you got more tone, you lost inches in the waist, comment below to let the people know, like, I'm not just I'm not just telling you it because it's my detox, that you can check out on my website, drbobbyprice.com. All right, so lymphatic drainage, number 4. And the last one, number 5, is castor oil. Okay, I talk about castor oil a lot. Now, you have to make sure you're actually getting castor oil. So make sure you get it from a good source. All right, make sure you get castor oil that is hexane and chemical free. All right, because if you don't, you're gonna just be adding more chemicals to your body. All right, whatever you put on your skin goes in. All right, make sure you get it pure and organic. All right, so that's the first thing. The reason why rubbing in castor oil in any problematic area that has cellulite works, and here's why. Because castor oil is high in what are called fatty acids. All right, now you may be thinking to yourself, well, I'm trying to get rid of fat. Why I want to put fatty acids in my body? Well, these are different type of fatty acids, all right? This particular fatty acid, which is like 80% of the fatty acids that are in cholesterol, is called racinoleic acid. Okay, racinoleic acid, when you rub it into the skin or the problematic area, castor oil probably penetrates the deepest of any oil that you can put on your skin. And the good thing about this particular fatty acid is that as it penetrates deeply, it will lock in the moisture. Okay, so keep the skin moisturized and hydrated. All right, remember what I said, one of the issues in terms of making the fascia tighten and making the fascia create adhesions is the fact that you get dehydrated. All right, so This is basically going to hydrate the skin, okay, and hydrate the fascia and also trap in that moisture. All right, so that's the first thing that it does. The other thing that it does is that it's anti-inflammatory. Much like omega-3s would be anti-inflammatory, this fatty acid is also anti-inflammatory. Get rid of the inflammation, you get rid of the tightness, all right? It also promotes wound healing, all right? Those adhesions and scar tissues that I was talking about earlier, castor oil can help with that. It can break up scar tissue because it penetrates so deeply, all right? And then the other thing it does that is really good, and it's not just good for cellulite, but it's also good for wrinkles as well too, it makes the skin firm up. Okay, so just think about what I just gave you. All right, castor oil, moisturizing to the skin, improves circulation, so it boosts circulation. It also is really good at making the skin firm because it has skin firming properties. So you got the castor oil, you're draining your lymphatic system, you're doing some fascia blasting with one of your choice, and then you're doing some consistent movement to get the flow going as well too, and to sort of tap into that fascia network. And then you're changing your diet, all right, which is going to not only nourish the body, but it's also going to be high in fiber because of the things that I mentioned that are actually going to help you get rid of more waste out of the body. And this, my friend, is the prescription to how you start to get rid of cellulite. All right, so hopefully you have enjoyed today's video. All right, today was almost like a master class. All right, you do this for 30 to 60 days, you're gonna notice a significant drop in your cellulite in your body. All right, and also a significant weight loss as well too. So make sure, do this favor for me. This is all I need from you. I need you to share this content, which is easy. It's free for you. I need you to hit that subscribe button down there. All right. And if you like this was valuable information for you, go ahead and make sure you hit that notification button so that the next time I have a video, you'll be the first one to get notified. All right. So the last thing I have for you is I have a group detox coming up in January. All right. The deadline to join is approaching. All right, so if you're wanting to be inside of that group detox where you're not only going to get a 30-day supply of my full body detox, but you're going to get access to an online support group. You're going to get meal plans, recipes. You're going to get me inside of there coaching you as well too. And it's a beautiful way to start the new year off with investing in your health. I highly suggest you go to drbobbyprice.com. You can sign up for the 30-day group detox, or you can say, hey, I want to get started now and do the 14-day or the 28-day solo by yourself. All right. So I highly suggest you go ahead and get signed up. Until the next time, peace and blessings and Godspeed. Take care.